We'll call this meeting to order at, I got 5:50, it's 6 o'clock here. So first is roll call. So out there in Zoom land, we got Adrian and Kelly. And then in person, we'll start me, Paul Wachowski.
Paul Barrow, Jeff Hans.
Lauren Fearman, partner, Cheryl Hannah.
All right, and then public?
I'm Dale Man.
Okay. All right. I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda. All right, Kelly makes a motion. Seconded by Steve there. Huh? I know, right? Going back and forth, looking back and forth here. All right, any additions or deletions to the agenda? All right, all those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Opposed? All right, next. Look for a motion to approve January 1st, 2023 regular meeting minutes. All right, Steve makes the motion. Who'd like to second? All right, Kelly seconds it. Everybody good with the minutes? Oh, yes, okay. All right, all those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Opposed? All right.
I realized looking at this that we have a hire to approve tonight and the agenda doesn't actually say that.
Oh, this is not.
Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. Yes, it's in the back.
Yeah,
it's in there underneath this.
okay. All right, no problem. All right, next, public comments. Any public comments? All right, moving along, superintendent's report. Go ahead, Lauren.
All right. Most of what I need to talk about is actually, so this part of it relatively. Here we are in August, the first day of school for students will be August 30th. Hard to say out loud. Our new teacher orientation is happening August 14th through the 7th. Our teacher in service days are August 24th and 25th. That's a Thursday and a Friday. The 28th, which is Monday, is not a in-service day. We're giving everybody a long weekend. And then the third in-service day will be Tuesday, August 29th, which is the day before students start. That is for teachers to set up their routines. The agenda for the teacher in service for the 25th, in everybody's hands shortly. Most of the big news that is out there, as I said, is connected with items on our agenda, PCBs at the high school. We've got lots of information. I was going to talk about that in this report. The litigation that both the Pueblo Mount Holly School Board and the Green Mountain School District signed on for to participate in has been filed. Monsanto has been sending personnel to the high school to observe the sampling process and our work. Pietro Lynn, who is from the firm that is representing us and all of the other participating supervisory unions and districts in Vermont, will be attending both the Ludlow Mount Holly School next Wednesday and will be attending the Green Mountain School District meeting the following Thursday on the 7th to talk in executive session with each board and answer any questions. We'll talk more about that later on. We've got a number of things that we would have discussed at the July 20th. Not got items on the agenda to some of those. Our 4 new principals and 1 assistant principal have all started work in July. They participated in several meetings through the month of July and our administrative that happened from July 24th to the 27th. It is a wonderful, delighted with all of them, formed a team very quickly, looking forward to it. Most of our positions open positions have been filled. We are looking for a grade 5-6 teacher for Chester Andover. All of our other classroom teacher positions are filled. Once you approve our special education hire a little later on this meeting. We do need bus drivers for both Mount Holly and Ludlow, and still need additional drivers for And we have open parent education positions in several schools. Just as this is our first meeting of the new school year, and because we weren't all together talking in July, our norms from last year remain in effect until we conduct a change them if we want to, which are that we will all presume that we're working to make sure that we have surprises and warnings that we are showing respect. Okay. At that administrative retreat from July 24th through the 27th, we set some special development priorities for the upcoming year, talked about layers of system of support and assess, data teams and data use, literacy for our K-6 teachers, as well as for 7-12. We have some ongoing math initiatives and some personalized. And we will talk about some of those leftover goals, portrait of a graduate, definitions of success, draft of full calendar, and into activity. Yes.
Right. Any questions or comments for Lori?
I would also mention for people who are out there that because we had an issue with the Zoom connections to this large board here being disconnected, Paul is running the Zoom onto our bigger board so that here, see those of you who are out in the Zoom world through his laptop, but I know that means that Kelly and Adrian cannot see all of the board members here because the camera for that big screen isn't working. So if you're struggling to hear us or want to know exactly what,
did that work?
Oh, very good.
There we go. Got
Thank
it.
you. That's
Yay. All right. Beautiful.
terrific. Questions?
Questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. All right. Next, TRSU facilities director.
So I just have a lot to talk about. So welcome back, everybody. Again, we're at the beginning of the year. Let's start with the flood. Hopefully everybody made it through. I know Ludlow had a lot of damage. Chester had some extensive damage. We had a lot throughout our towns and our supervisory. Mount Holly School didn't have any, according to Craig and Al. Ludlow Elementary had a little bit in their playground, but Chet and Mike took care of that. Chet brought his tractor down and we were able to fix that. Green Mountain had none. We're up high enough and we didn't have any, and Cavendish didn't have any. Unfortunately, Chester Andover at the last, Cheryl just sent out a spreadsheet. It's around 15,000, not done yet. We have some undecided between our insurance company and a structural engineer about the White House out back. There's some questions and some hard questions that have to be answered. There's some conflicting determinations about whether that building is usable or not. So we'll be talking about that at length. There was a lot of playground damage to Chester Andover, some roadway damage out the back, Chester Andover. Some water got into the back side of the building. There was a report on the Vermont Digger that there was major damage. Lauren and I talked about this. We're talking with the emergency management system with Vermont, along with the AOE, and how they classify damage is if you have even an outbuilding that is used for students that had damage, put you in a category of major damage to your school. So it wasn't not true. It wasn't untrue what Vermont Digger said, but it led it to be that there was a lot more damage than what there actually was.
It made it sound as though we were in the same spot.
Right.
The things.
Yeah.
I've spoken and
So we're that is back. We're in a place where there's no problem with that school opening. So that's where we are with the flood. Does anybody, before I go on, there's a lot of sections that I got. Anybody have any questions about any flood related questions with any of our schools?
Yes.
Okay, let's see.
Classes were held. And is there capacity to
Yeah,
Rochester?
yep. We've already worked on that. The principal is working on moving them. And if we cannot use that building, 10 move the people that were in there inside the school, make some adjustment.
So there were some music classes that were being held out, some OT. And we also had some office space. And we already had the conversations. And if that space where they'll.
So there was, I do like to report that those were bad things. There were some really good things. Obviously, all of us saw how community members came together. Green Mountain, they did some swift water rescue. I was in contact with Matt, Amber's husband, the fire chief, and we couldn't, so there was I didn't know this, but in order to be a emergency response area, there's a whole slew of things that have to happen. And if you're a school, you work with the Red Cross or the emergency management system and turn the key and you let them in and you walk away from it. Done. The Red Cross takes over liability, they take care of bedding in. Because the schools can't be responsible for that. So we ended up being a backup place here at Cavendish. The school was open, we got some people in. I was calling every night. Red Cross was calling me and I was reporting to them how many people here. We ended up moving it temporary shelter instead of a full-time shelter. So community members just opened up. We used Cavendish. They had a drive around for supplies a couple days. That was great. Ludlow, they did it at the rec center. I think Shaw's opened up some stuff. That now was Cheryl and I went there. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Support. The high school, we talked about it with Julie Hantz about opening that up in the Vermont Emergency Management beside high school for any Chester residents. So that was good news. Any more questions about the flood? Anything flood related? Sure.
So I did go to on Tuesday.
Ah!
Gotcha. So I think it's our claim.
Right.
So we have that's a good. Sounds like cover. So with the 10,000 insurance, insurance is for buildings. So some of these out structures, chips that we lost in, so then there's White House. So waiting insurance company. With the file claim.
We're gonna have, I mean, oh, yeah, sorry, Paul.
Yeah.
Adrian.
Well, was it Kelly? Who was it?
When Cheryl's looking like at you guys, it completely cuts out in audio. So I don't know if you guys have to be facing us or the audio completely cuts out.
Okay. You want me to repeat summarize what I said?
Would you mind?
So I went to a FEMA meeting and I think we'll be eligible to file a claim. We have a $10,000 deductible for the insurance. And it sounds like they will cover 75% of that. In addition to what our insurance won't cover, insurance for buildings and not the playground coverings and the fence and stuff like that. So I'm working on filing a claim and an assessment.
Okay, so on from the flood, PFAS at Mount Holly is moving at a snail's pace, but it's moving. There's still some paperwork tied up with the state, but we've had some electrical engineers, some mechanical engineers looking at that. So when things do move forward, that will move a bit quicker. That's all I want to say about PFAS because it seems to change as fast as we report on it. So I don't want to get really excited about PFAS until I see the building getting built and start talking about it. The task force, I don't want to get into detail because we haven't reported to the LMH board. The task force is prepared. We've been meeting throughout the spring and the summer since we last met as a TRSU board. and they are prepared to make a recommendation to the LMH board. So that's good news. We're working very diligently. Some board members, community members, myself, some people from PEI, Cheryl, Lauren's been to a couple of meetings, so we are prepared. They are prepared to make recommendations to the board about a bond. There'll be a full report of that at the next LMH meeting. Cavendish, if you walked out back, the playground is in full swing. It's been problematic. I had to flood into it and try to find somebody with an excavator in the past month was like finding a needle in a haystack, but got some people that really stepped up, and we have a time frame, spending ESSER funds and getting the project done before the school starts, and things that so far are on schedule. But I'm going to say this in a public meeting: if you have anybody, the 17th is Wednesday, Thursday, 17th and 18th, we need at least 25 volunteers each day here. Right now we have 16 on one day and 12 on the next. So anybody you can gather up to get here and help us get this playground together would be just awesome. So Chester Andover, the ESSER project there is on schedule. They put the air handlers on the roof today, and they're putting the egress windows in. The egress windows are a lot nicer than I thought they were going to be. They're beautiful. They're tinted. It's going to move that school, into a place that's really good. With new boilers, new air handlers, new controls, new electrical to the air handlers, and the egress windows at that school is going to be in very good condition. The high school, not a lot to report there except for PCBs. So since we last talked, they've done, the University of Iowa has been there, and their test kits have been deployed and now removed and sent out for testing, waiting on the results from those. Harper Environmental showed up to do their preliminary testing on finding the source, and Monsanto and a team of 2 lawyers and 3 other people that I'm still not sure who they were. They took pictures, were there for 2 days following everybody around. And they were there every day that Harper was there. Harper's came back today. I skipped a major part. The filters arrived, the carbon filters arrived. We deployed 57 carbon filters into 50 classrooms that all tested above the immediate action level. Those had to run a week. Today was a week. Harper showed up today and deployed their indoor air quality testing units that have to run for 24 hours. They deployed half of them. They'll deploy the other half tomorrow. And then they will be back on Saturday. I'll go there with them on Saturday, and they will pick them up. He is going to drive them. Now, I told Lauren this, he's going to drive them halfway to the testing site. The testing site's going to keep them halfway, so we're going to gain another day on the results coming back. Those results should be back no later than the 22nd August now, not the 23rd and 2nd. We may have a verbal, you're okay or you're in trouble. We may not have the occupancy diagrams from the DEC, but we may have something from Harper before that says you're all set or you have to wait.
And we want to be clear, as Todd's talking about, you're okay or you're all set. That is with regard to whether we can use every building. We are all set whether we can use those rooms that tested above the action level or not. Even if those rooms with the carbon filters don't come down below the immediate action level, we have enough rooms, we have a plan in place. Every student and every class is going to be in the high school, first day of school, whether we have to continue to have rooms closed off or no. Plans in place for students. And would also, we've sent out this information that Todd is in 2 letters, one that went out on July 7th, one that went out on the 28th, that went out to all of our families. If anybody wants to see them, didn't see them, they are on the TRSU website.
So while Harper's is there, are there, have been there, Monsanto's legal team has been there as well. So it's been a little unnerving to have not many people building. You don't know who they are or what they're doing.
Remember, you have a couple of lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
there are other schools.
Any school that has any action, that it's involved, there's some.
So things are moving along with PCBs on schedule. Harper's have given us a schedule. We are actually a couple days ahead. We've been pushing them because if we have to move, we're looking at moving 23-ish classrooms if they don't make it. I'm looking on brighter side, thinking the carbon filters are going to work and we don't have to move anybody. Like Lauren said, we have a plan in place. If none of the classrooms, if they don't work at all, you have a plan where we everybody. So there's no worries about not opening school.
The experience of the DEC Health Department AOE is wherever they have deployed these carbon-based filters, within a week, radically reduced.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to.
Right, yeah, Adrian. Good, Adrian.
I was just curious, you said that you've sent the information out to families. How, has there been any, strong public reaction to any of the information? Has there been any reaction, any questions, anything that?
We've had a handful of individuals who have called and asked for a little additional information, but otherwise, no. We're going to try to do an additional forum, as we did in June. That I hope that we will get these results back. So we're considering trying to do that the week. But we'll see where things stand. We don't, at the moment, there's not a lot of additional information to give.
Yeah.
But as we get a little closer to the opening of school, we want to give them an opportunity to come in and ask what they want to ask. The answer to most of the questions they have don't come from me or from home, comes from the AOE, the DC, the Department of Health. They came down, they'll come down again. No, overall, we've had a couple of people ask some questions, but beyond that, not a lot of reaction.
All right, you're feeling like everyone is as informed as possible, just so that there's not we didn't know, we weren't told, everything's being sent out.
Well, there's almost always people say that, but we've sent the information out to everybody that is in all staff, all faculty, school, and the posting of those letters is up on our website. We're talking to everybody who wants to talk to us about.
Okay, thank you.
So the last thing I want to say about PCBs is that we are on step 3 of maybe step 100. I mean, this is going to be a long, drawn out process that is not going to move. It won't move as slow as PFAS, but it's going to move very close to that pace.
Turtle snail.
It will move a bit faster because the AOE is involved extensively in this. So it's going to move a little bit quicker, but we're still talking about state agencies. So obviously they will find the source. Then there's a whole slew of things that have to be done after that. So we're moving in a good direction. And right now where we're at, we're on schedule.
The other thing for people to know is that these various agencies have been very responsive.
Yeah.
So, and Todd's just done a standing job, present for all of this. And whenever he or I call them with any questions or concerns, we get near immediate responses. They're putting and testing and shipping things. We're being front of the line because of the level of difficulty and our time constraints. So it's been a occasion in which I can say that assistance we're getting from the state level is good.
Thanks.
So, and the last thing I have is we want to reiterate, Lauren and I, Cheryl too, talk about this a lot. If we're asked any questions about PCBs, levels, or how it works, we refer all those questions to the DEC. We are not PCB experts. I can report to our school boards on what we are doing, but to have a conversation with people and say, this is where we think, or this is what's gonna, all those questions get directed to the DC. That's a direct line, and they will pick up and answer questions. They have a whole team that just works on these. So, thank you. That's very long for what I was at.
Right. Any questions, comments? No? All right. Thank you, Todd. All right. Curriculum direction report.
Something completely different. Okay.
I don't know whether you're going to be saying this or not. Say it. Say it. This will be Anne's last director's report to you on August. She'll be position to. So I'll be saying thank you. That's my life. But I want to say thank you in a public way. All the last week's efforts to beyond something sign up is always sort of covering and so.
So I'll get here. So let's move on. See this part of it. So there are a couple of things I just wanted to lay out for you in terms of the work that's done this summer. First of all, you probably talked quite a bit about MLSS or TSS. Those get interchangeable by the agency. It means the same tiered systems now. So if you're looking at it, same. I put in some links. Some time and some interest. So one of the hallmarks of MLSS is it's about opportunity to achieve for all, for every student, class, every faculty. This is a rather different way. Some educators think about work. There are going to be shifts. They're not all going to be fun. To a cohort of teachers to best conference and spent most of the week working very, very diligent on an understanding of MLSS and TRSU. Julie, Emma, other people into this. Spent 4 days really immersed in that work. Just a little bit about our annual retreat to mention. So we got a lot of knowledge out of in terms of people are learning our and how we're beyond bringing the best service. Our turnover in personnel definitely light changes. So new teacher orientation coming up, at least seeing going fast. And some people are very experienced and excited about Julie and so Holderness will as well. We've selected mentors for all of our new hires. Two structures from the one is for brand new to us, or which is very structured and has to do primarily getting to culture and to understand how systems work. We have a second mentor, kind of mentoring model, which is for very experienced teachers. Their experience and their don't need the minutia, but they understand the context of work. Again, culture kinds of services. We also have a growing best coaching program for a grant. Here's a brief grant, all longer than any time. So we have a lot of support for teachers and for some learning. So anyway, so we're going to, Julia, Emma, Lisa, and I are so going to be available as well. And I would like to thank you, support the director. Wonderful. While I'm stepping away from all and returning to the classroom, my teacher, so I'm going to continue my work as recovery coordinator through performance. I'm resuming oversight of the mental. So let me say, I don't want, and this is such a pleasure. So thank you, students, and so just everybody involved. So.
Questions, comments for? Yeah, well, thank you, Ann. Great. All right, next, financial update.
Okay, so in the folder you have the June 30th financials. Central office, remember in June I talked about our fund balance as offsetting revenue. The deficit, so that's how we actually don't have. So the central office with a 5,000 that goes against our $7,000 surplus that we had. So now when we're writing our audit, or I would say. So indirect rate, and that's the percentage that we get the registration off of the grants, and we had $1,000. We use that money for self-esteem. We use some of that money for the mentoring stipend, as well as it helps with the grants. She writes the strategy. It's very helpful to me in that part. Some of the overages that we have that cost us, that's it. So the bottom line, changing of staff, change benefits, family 40,000. Yes, it's a huge impact. And then because of all that we've got, if I have a single audit, there's an additional change that system part of the regular audit. There's so much work to the single audit. That's part of our problem. For transportation, everybody ends up good. I think now no one's spent 80% of their budgeted. A lot of that's back drivers. So Ludlow Mount Holly ended up in a deficit, but that's from 5,000. And then also the accident $100. So that's why ultimately take those things out. They spent 90. Special ed, not a big surprise. Back a little bit for talk about trip first. So what we're seeing is higher uptick in expenses for our young people, our school services. So we ended up $200,000 over budget. So those are set back to based on the students. K-12, $1,000 over. That had to do with, we actually ended up overages, tuition were 9,000, behavioral interventions, and $7,000 for evaluation probably I've spoken a couple times. They were 100. So those are the lines over offset that. So, split out of that, 220,000 unified. Specific questions about the year end? General fund?
It broke up a lot. I'm not going to ask you to repeat it. Is this just something I can talk to you about at a different time?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
So also in the folder with grant, I have what we had spent in ESSER 2, ESSER 3. ESSER 2 will be done at the end of September. We have about $100,000 left outstanding, which is a playground professional development happen. Some title books that we're going to, and then and our best are done. I can't say on the side. They are a lot of work. And the only thing, our wrap up our staff say big project. I know. Or I have 3 questions to say. So the staff report, I have 3 questions to ask the state, and then that should be submitted. And that they really want that on time, of their processing, and so the whole funding. So let's do the 50 August. I didn't borrow it. They answer. Questions for me?
All right. Thank you, Cheryl. All right, we got some old business here. So we're scheduling the board retreat. So we have to reschedule the board retreat. How does that sound, everybody? I think it's important to have the board retreat. I think we can all work together and be together. So how do the board members feel about that?
Are we able to maybe survey the different boards so that we can, I don't really feel like this board should just make a unanimous decision for everybody else. Can we send that out and get like dates?
Right, we can make that happen. You mean like a doodle poll?
Yeah.
See if, huh? Yep, like a doodle poll. I'm okay with that. Sounds good. Right, sounds good, beautiful. So, Kelly, go ahead, Kelly.
I'm just curious. I mean, I know I'm a teacher, so my job revolves around the summer and not everybody else's does. I get that. But for a lot of the people who will be coming, like Lauren and Cheryl and whatever, will it change based on the fact that summer's coming? I'm not going to say it out loud, to a close really quickly. Or like, would people be thinking about a Saturday? How, I know we're not going to speak for the other boards, but how will we make this work in September or October? Is that what we're thinking?
All of that's up to all of you, and in terms of, you know, when I can make myself available, as long as there's enough notice for it. I am not in a classroom, so it is easier for me to make those things work than it is for somebody who's teaching a class. But anybody who is working a job has had to, even for July 20th, people were having to take a day off. So the real question is whether you all wanted to make this happen enough to look at dates when people could take a day off from work, because most people are going to, anybody associated with schools will be back at work. And if that's what people want to, I agree with Paul, it's important. It's hard, we're going to talk a little bit about some of these things here. It's hard to try to do 6 or 7 hours worth of work an hour and a half at a time. And Saturdays are possible if people say Saturdays are possible, but I need some direction of whether I'm sending you a doodle poll, essentially has every day in September and October on it, to see when people are available, or whether there are some constraints. I also need to know whether you think if there's a day that it works, you want to do that so that I can approach our facility and see when she might be available. And then with Jackson Gore, seeing when they would be available again as well.
Would it make more sense to know when the facilitator's available before we start asking people for dates?
Yes.
It will, but I need to know whether when I'm asking her, am I asking her whether she has available dates in August and September? Am I asking her for September, October? What's your,
I mean,
Say September, October.
yeah, I agree.
okay,
Doing time in August might be a little short notice at this point.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Can this board go so far as to say, we're inclined to pursue
I can't hear what you're saying.
that would be good.
Yes. Yeah.
So I will
What was that? I didn't hear
I
that.
don't think you're-
No, Steve, you might.
I think the TSRU board should go on record saying that this is something we're interested in, we recommend it, and suggest the other boards seriously entertain it and look at the dates and see if we can work something out. But actually come forward and recommend.
Right.
Thank you.
So September, October, contact facilitator, then we'll go back to our boards and let them know. And then hopefully we'll be able to get together
Sounds good.
for a nice day of collaborating together, working on goals and all that other fun stuff.
Just my last question is, do you want me to ask her if Saturdays are possible?
It's fine with me.
You could, I mean, I guess you could ask. But
Okay.
Just ask. Maybe.
Okay.
Even though some people I know.
It doesn't hurt to put it out there, but there've been times in the past when I've talked to people and have received the response of absolutely not. Not Saturdays. So it's certainly worth asking. So I will do.
Extraordinary.
Yeah.
Lunch.
All right. Good with that. Right. We got a portrait of a graduate.
Right, so I'm gonna put up on screen, I've got some hard copies and things.
Here, I'll pass it around.
Like the protocol.
Pull it up on the screen.
And we'll talk about this more, hopefully when we get the time schedule for the, and so these are our draft copies from the work that we did last year through the spring. Let's see. So these are all, this is available on RSU website. And you can see on it the competencies that the selected of adaptability, critical thinking, empathy, responsibility, collaboration, along with academic excellence, and the image that's together as well. Are still open to making some adjustments to it. This is what came around, supported. So our tentative plan is to bring forwards with it. The statement of what all of those things stand for as the beginnings of our hopeful vision statement. And when we get around to strategic operating plan, graduates of the two supervisory, adaptable, empathetic, responsible, collaborative, strong, with aging, and achieve academic excellence. These are things that when our administrative work we made reference to. This is a sort of arching definition of success, what it would look like for our graduates of our system. If they have skills, we'll say that we've done our job well. facing. They're up there at the moment on the TRSU website as a draft of our definitions and a draft of the visual. I'm hoping that once we are able to talk about it in more than a, that we can finalize it and start using these images attached to the facility.
Any questions, comments about our drafts that the teams came up with?
So it's simple.
That I hope we finalize it. And again, it's not that this is now, it still says draft all over it. I'd just like to hear that this is not the initial first draft, and now we're going to bring everybody back together, have 6 more meetings in order to wordsmith today. But so that the board is happy. And if the board as it exists for both logo Montana now, at the time we this word does not say, we say this is our portrait of a graduate, then this piece is not just a management decision. It's a management governance decision, and need both of us to put their sample, which is also connected with our overall definition of success, which is something that we have talked about as well, pass around that piece of paper, which is also was shared with everybody in preparation. This again is a draft of how we would defining one of our goals for the 22-20 year was that we are defining success in terms of where we think things should be for literacy, where we think things should be for the end of 6th grade, and then graduates as a whole. They put that up so see as well. See. So you've seen the drafts of the definitions of success in terms of literacy and of math. This is one that we talked about. We have a general statement that involves ENWA math scores and a more general statement about classroom assessments taken into consideration. Our NWA MAPS assessments are ones that give 3 times a year for literacy and for math. And while they are not the only measure of whether students are where we expect them to be, they are one snapshot that is pretty effective, not in telling us everything about students, but telling us whether or not we have students who are more or less on kinds of skills. So this is a document that we will continue to work with, and that both Emma and Julie have made some suggestion reports, and we'll be looking at trying to fine-tune that a little further. Linked on this are the guiding principles for K-6 literacy, and again, this is a conversation more than 10 minutes in this kind of meeting, but these are the things that we worked on over the course of the year towards those overall goals of having shared definitions for what it means to be a successful student at a TRSU school.
Questions, comments?
I doubt that.
I doubt that.
No, this is true. I think it's like the goals. Specific. I don't tend to be smart ass and stuff. You know that responsible or reasonable. Is there any to and achieve excellence as well? That be sure. Is there is tested strong is tested?
So without being flip about it, yes, in the course of what is expected or in your classroom assignments, then part of what our teachers are isn't just whether a student gets the right answer. They are looking both in literacy and in math, we talked about this in some of our presentations, at how the student goes about it, which is an important part of critical. And so how they're solving these problems. And at the school level, there's not always a lot of education about children. But this concept of making school, which is part of the, it is something that should happen, should be measured not in the same way, efficient level, or connected with our essential skills and disposition, being collaborative and engaging. We actually have a rubric of sorts that talks about what it looks like when somebody is inner ethic skills, or what it looks like when they are more expert and that is feedback. For our teachers, not just about your student or capitals or skills, but also your students making some remarkable progress in being more of a collaborative. Or they don't seem to. So it's not a stupid, and it is.
I think this is one.
Yes.
I'm just, sorry. We have someone to measure.
We do. The tricky part of it is that as soon as you introduce a room, most people want to go to telling a student, you're a 3 on a scale of 4, which is not how you measure these skills. Measure these skills not in terms of you reach the now you measure them in terms of, so it is difficult to both that measure and putting in a way that doesn't just reduce it all down to we got a 7. We do,
Okay.
we do. But having said that, we have staff who, we also have staff who have not spent a lot of time working on those essential skills and dispositions rubric and the understanding of it. It's a whole lot, and we're trying to also make sure that kids in grade, so that we have a lot of things happening. It's a good question. It's not; these are not quantifiable in the same way. Are measured in a yes. Well, because ultimately, the curriculum, to a certain extent, is the same in every subject. It is due. They're teaching kids to be problem solvers. Question is, can you solve whatever the problem is in front of you? So that is the question in math, grade 3 social studies, grade French, problem solve it with tools available. Teach that, teaching specific discrete activities. Teach that. So, yeah, that's why you
Right. Else?
right, and now the last thing I don't need to pass around, but we had our goals from last year on July 7th. Everybody, if you want a copy of this again, that lists these specific goals. It is something that before we're in the week, everybody should look at again. And
Sure.
I killed the tree, might as well.
Yes.
And that is also available, and I share it with time. So this folder, PRS Youth Goals 20, is shared with all board members who all have access to this. It has our all of these pieces of paper, has the goals from last year. It has the goals from the norms that we talked about, and thing for every. It also contains our tentative vision statement, right? See, Two River Supervisory Union committed to guiding students, profitable, responsible, collaborative, strong communicators, engage and achieve excellence. The schools of the supervisory striving for excellence, all students, all staff, and this phrase of every student, every class, every day is one that we have all of our summer with our teachers, one that I hope help us to sort of achieve a level of parents about this. Also important to me that ever those words about striving for excellence and about academic excellence are. So we'll come back to all of that when we are at our retreat, but I didn't want us to go into September and October without the TRSU board, the Ludlow Mount Holly board, and the Mountain board having had at least an opportunity to look at what the work was that was done on strong skill.
Right. Questions, comments? No. All right. Beautiful. Moving on. All right. So we got our superintendent search, and I have some place called NASDAQ. If you want to pull, can you pull that up for them on the AED?
But I do have print six around.
No, not yet.
Let me see if I can find it.
Right. Yep. So since none of us are search expert for superintendents, I was looking at hiring someone to come in and guide us. Now we could do the VSBA, but they seem to be a little, just overwhelmed. A couple new people coming in and whatnot, but there is a place called NASDAQ that does searches for superintendents. And we have this. How do people feel about us hiring someone to do the search for a superintendent? I'll start with that.
What was the issue with the VSBA? I didn't hear what you said.
They got like some new people, and I think they tried to help us out last time. It didn't go over very well. Not was it for Meg? I thought. I don't remember. I mean, I can reach out to them too.
Paul, what's the price difference between what VSBA charges us and what this company would charge?
I'm not sure. I was just gonna see if we were gonna hire an outside firm to help us, and then I was gonna contact them and get some more information.
I've been on a couple of superintendent searches in my little career here on the board, and I think several years ago when I did it, they were quite helpful. This last time, I don't know. It was in the middle of COVID right now, or was it right before COVID? Weren't we doing this right as COVID hit?
I think a little bit before.
Yeah, I think it started before, and I think we were doing interviews like without a mask at the beginning and then all of a sudden online afterward. And so I don't want to completely judge VSBA's quality based on the most recent search, but I think price is a consideration because I don't know how much VSBA charges. Obviously, it's gone up since the last time I heard, but I think that's important for us to know before we make a decision.
Okay, so I'm going to reach out to both of these places and get some more information.
Yeah, and I guess if there's, what the big differences in what they provide would be. So, even if one company's a little bit more, maybe it's worth it because they provide us a benefit the other one doesn't. But I would need to be able to compare them, I think, to make a better judgment.
Okay. All right. So I'll go out for everybody and then bring it back next meeting. Maybe I can have them come and make a presentation with you guys too. So I'll see what I can do. How does that sound, everybody? Steve?
Good.
Search firms can be very light. And it might be search firms so for their search. So
Yeah. So I'll talk to both, and I'll see, and I'll get all the information, bring it back to next meeting. How does that sound for everybody? Sounds good? All right, beautiful, excellent. All right, that's all. What do we get? Beautiful. All right, next. We got some new business, and we have some first read policies. So these are the ones that got to be approved now, but obviously that's not going to happen. So this is the by the new law, right? That was the law that was passed, and we have to have F3, which is fire emergency preparedness drills, and F4, with its access control and visitors management. So I believe Ludlow, Mount Holly already saw these, and did Green Mountain already see these?
Ludlow, Mount Holly, and Green Mountain both did a first read and are going to next week. Ludlow will do a second read on possible on this, and their second read. So we would have done the first read for the TRS. We'll do the first read now. Second start.
Yep. But policy committee already have these. The only thing is for S4 for access control and visitors management for under administration responsibilities for A, which is optional. I don't think that, right? We do not need that. So, because we make sure we ask like each school district. So,
Can I just ask a really quick question? And maybe if I read it more carefully, I'd understand, but I've read it twice now. The fire and emergency preparedness drill, is it my understanding, or am I missing something here, that it's going from sort of like a monthly alternating between fire and, like an intruder kind of thing, to just one in the fall and one in the spring? And it can be basically whatever the school feels is appropriate for their school?
I do not know.
My understanding of this is that the policy says that you must conduct one in and one in the spring, and have the summer. I do not have a clear understanding that the state of changing the requirements of the monthly drill. I don't believe that I think that it needs to have a policy that required any particular drills. Our policy would follow what the state says. I think that there was a concern that some places were not doing any of them, requiring the policy to have this. But I don't believe this changes the requirement have to come we have to conduct some.
Okay, I think I heard enough of what you said to be confused, but that's okay. I'll ask questions later and figure it out. Thank you.
Any questions on the policies? All right. So next we got a new hire, special education teacher, CTES. Kevin.
All right. We had initially had two special educators that were working, and I shared information with all of them about both of them. One of them, before we talk about Nancy, here is our recommendations. We also had a position for our early education, special education coordinator, that is for the Green Mountain School District. It goes to supervise special education within preschools within the area. And the person had plans for moving to Ludlow, which because of the flood was no longer able to do that. In the meantime, Kathy Siggins has been our triple educator had resigned, realized that we find someone, she has requested that we send resignation. Is willing to stay for another year so that we are not put in the position of having to either for any period of time struggle. So, and Mary can talk about this too. Grateful for that. Not need for, you've already approved her. The past is a hire for this. I wanted you to know that we are willing to say yes to the person that we can with her, and that if there are concerns from the board about that, we can talk about them. But otherwise, it puts us with that position filled by somebody who is successful this year. Any concerns about that?
I know it's just super hard to hear. Is this a like a net new position? I could barely understand like the back and forth on what this is.
So I'm not sure what else, I'm not sure how else to get this across. I was talking about a position that was vacant because someone had resigned. The person who resigned has requested to rescind her resignation so we can keep her for a year. So that's what we're planning.
Okay, that's clear. I heard it fully that time. It was back and forth and I couldn't understand if this was a net new position or if it was just something that was already existing. Thank you.
Okay. So the next position we have is for a special education teacher at Cavendish. We had a vacancy when one of the teachers here took a position open at central office. So Nancy McNally, have her material in front of you, applied. She has been working within Vermont for the last year or so. And Mary interviewed her, and Dale and I also spoke with her. I think she is a terrific educator. References very positive about her. And so we're recommending her. Mary, did you have some specific to share?
I just think she's has some very good variety of experiences and will bring a lot to the school. All her references checked out. She's very collaborative, works well, takes direction, and she's flexible, and she's a hard worker. I didn't get one negative thing when I checked with, I think I checked with 5 references. And she has had a lot of different kinds of experiences based from kindergarten to high school, and she's also worked in a therapeutic classroom. So that will be very helpful for us. So.
Good. Questions, comments? Motion to hire Nancy McNally.
Thank you.
McNally.
I'll make the motion.
Ray makes a motion. Steve seconds it. Any more discussion on? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Board, Nancy.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Yep. All right, now let's see next. So the draft of the multiple year board calendar. So we've been working on that.
So we've been talking about that for a year. There are 2 different formats for this that you can see in that. One is just a list, the other is set up by months. Let the screen again, different so you can see it. My way back to. Sorry.
Good.
So one of the things that we talked about last year was trying to have something a little bit more predictable in terms of what we're going to talk about. And we wind up with a whole lot of things that we want to talk about when we get ready to do our budgets. we're looking always to have departments about our different content areas, both within the elementary schools and high school, and for staffing. And there isn't enough time in a 2-hour or 3-hour long for us to have any kind of reasonable discussion about the after-school program and the guidance department and the special education program and the sports for the fall and our various plans and budgets. And so trying to do something to clarify for everybody a series of expectations about when we talk about these things, when presentations happen, when we're doing these different things. I think it's useful. Now this is already not valid, as the things that we had talked about in August based on our meeting in July, not talked about. So we'll need to have the conversation, try to put in place. In other places where I've worked, have a system of having outlines for what happens in their December, in their January, in their February meetings. It just takes a lot of confusion over when are we trying to get everybody on the same page so that we all know that every April we'll do the non-bargaining employee salaries. Now that is something that we've done for the last 3 years because of my conversation with the board chairs, we decided we were going to, it's not written down, say calendar expectation, but that's what it is. And when I'm not here and someone place it would do something, says this is when we usually start our budget. We usually make our final decisions. We're trying to have a presentation about the after-school program in August, so that you hear what happened in summer camp, what plans are. This, like the other things we just talked about, is not something we're going to decide now. Talk about it. But this document, along with the one that is up on the screen that's done in the slide format, it's in the folder that you all have. But to look at it, think about where you think some of these things belong. I put things in where I thought they might be a good place to have them. It is completely possible to say, that's not a good idea. We'd like to have some. Might also look at this and decide that if we really talk about all of these things, and you do, then maybe you want to schedule additional part of the business to do some of this. Don't happen, which is certainly another way. But that won't happen if you don't make the decision. Calendar says it.
All right.
So a good suggestion.
Yeah.
Under March for GM, you should add winter GM or sports. All spring, nothing.
Nothing for winter.
So it looks
That's why
like.
we need lots of people.
Yep. So looks like a lot of people got some homework. A lot of board members got to do some homework here for the board retreat coming up. So any questions about the board calendar? Says draft. Come with some ideas of where things can go and what we can do. And we should come up with a nice one.
Some of the committees feed into.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a couple to a segment, small.
Right. Yeah. All right. So we all good with that? Right. All right, now we got the annual federal procurement threshold certification. Geez, that is huge. It's a lot. That is a lot. Hopefully it's important.
Very. So back in, I think, 2019, federal government changed some of the regulations as far as federal grants and what are required. One of them are threshold itself certification. So this is what sets, that they need to federal funds and have a form that we have to fill out on like how we got it. Threshold for micro $1,000. Micro social. Fine for micro, small purchases up to. And then there's a like competitive and a sealed proposal has what we're buying, buy it, and then we go into sam.gov and we check our federal funds. They want to know. So we have set our annual threshold and it's still 100,000 and the changes. Price don't have a lot of that is under the. We don't have to cut all that off. That we make. So this doesn't require board approval, but I like to work on it. And so I just have to sign it and say that there are the levels that we set. On form up decision as a supervisor. So I'm asking to that this is what we had.
Okay. So let's make the motion.
Okay, so we should just set the threshold. Should. So small purchases is 200. 200.
Okay, that's Steve's motion. Okay, good. Right. Yeah, good secretary. And who'd like to second it?
I'll second.
All right, Jeff seconds it. All right. Any discussion on that?
Paul,
Yes, go ahead.
because Cheryl unfortunately is really hard to hear, and I apologize. I would like to be there, but I'm not in the state, so I can't be. Can you just sort of summarize what we're voting on so that those of us out here have a clue? Because I heard zero of what Cheryl said.
So when we spend federal dollars, there's certain criteria, documentation that we have to do, and it has to be based on the amount of money that we spend on an item. So it's a single item. And so micro purchase is 40,000 level that we set it at, and the small purchase is 200,000.
Yeah, federal money.
Federal money, when we
Right, we spend federal money.
What kind of purchase that we're making, we're buying it from, and we have to make sure that they are not debarred from the federal government.
So I'm just, if you're buying a book on Amazon with federal money, you want to be able to just buy it without approval. Whereas if you're spending more than X amount, you obviously need the approval. Is that what you're saying?
You have to categorize or purchase it, whether it's a small purchase or a micro purchase. If it's under 50, it's a micro. Go under 250, you have to get into some more bid laws that you have to do. It's just setting those thresholds. Previously at $50,000, and you have the option to agree. So we made that decision. So this is just affirming that that's what we're.
And you said you actually don't need board approval. This is just your preference. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct. And I remember we got it for the last years. Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right. There are none. All of them say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Those. All right. There you go. Oh man. All right. Excellent. Next, policies approved this meeting. We had no policies at this meeting. All right. That's good. And then public comment. Any public comment? Nope, here none. All right. Next meeting date and agenda, September 7th, 2023, 6 p.m. It'll be a Ludlow Professional Development Room and on Zoom. We will wind up having the second reads for F3, fairness drills, and F4, access control and visitor management. The superintendent search will be on there. And that's about it at this time. Does anyone else have anything up for the agenda next month? No? All right. So that's what we're good for now. All right, excellent. And now we have our self-evaluation part. So we have given and read the agenda background materials prior to the meeting. You know, today, yes, we did. Yep. All right, excellent. We are respectful to each other, the public and the administration. Yes, we were. Members handle conflict openly and constructively, right? All this conflict that we had this meeting, perfect, thumbs up. And let's see, we focus on the roles and responsibility of the board. Yes, we did. And we act as a team once decisions have been made, and we work collaboratively throughout the decision making. Yes, we did. Part of the vision statement there. So working on it, yeah. Right, it's right there. Yep. Absolutely. Show an example to the students and staff and everybody else, you know? All right, motion to adjourn. Steve makes the motion, Adrian seconds, all in favor, all right, close. All right, thank you everyone for dealing with this meeting, yes, with the situation we had, but I think we made it through.